Hello everybody. We have 4 days until the Republican National Convention as I post this video. August 27th, and the convention, according to the official website, is set to run through the 30th of August. This video is for the purpose of making my predictions of what will happen at the National Convention. If I am wrong, I will admit that I was wrong, and I will be very happy to do so. However, I have already been right on one of my predictions, and it was a prediction I didn't make public, but now I want to make my predictions public so that when they do happen, well, at least it can be on the record that I made these statements. Before I get to my predictions, I want to give a very quick answer to individuals who have been asking me, mostly here on YouTube, why did you not wait till after the convention to support Gary Johnson? Ron Paul still had a chance, he was still in it. Why did you have to switch support so quickly? The answer is simply summed up in one word: time. Time is of the essence. Resources in time and money and effort and energy are very limited at this point. My goal is to spread this message of liberty, with the limited time that I have. Since I am not a delegate to the National Convention at this point, there is nothing that I as an individual can do to secure the nomination for Ron Paul. That is in the field of the delegates. And I'll get to those predictions. But I have supported Ron Paul as much as I could with my time, my energy, and yes, my money as well. But at this point, there's nothing I can do to make Ron Paul the nominee at the RNC. Therefore, it is a wiser use of my time and limited resources that I do have to promote the candidate that I think will be the alternative to the best possible liberty candidate. That message needs to get out, and it needs to get out while we still have time to do so. Okay? And for that reason, I have worked to promote Gary Johnson, so that when the time does come, at least I can say I did all I could to get the message out there, as opposed to sitting around doing nothing, being idle. What's that old expression? Idle hands are the devil's playground. Yeah. Why be idle and why wait until the convention? And by that time it might be too late to get the message out there to people who otherwise would not have even known who he was. Most Americans know who Ron Paul is. A lot of people don't know who Gary Johnson is at this point. And many of my friends have even told me that they did not even know who Gary Johnson was until I started talking about him. So for that reason, I feel the need to get his name out there now. It doesn't mean I'm not supporting Ron Paul anymore. It simply means that I'm pursuing the best strategy I can to get the liberty message live, with or without this going forward. That being said, my predictions. My first prediction that came true already was that Rand Paul or Ron Paul or any other liberty-loving candidate will not be the VP pick for Mitt Romney. Many people believe that possibility was there, that the pressure would mount and Romney would cave and pick someone like Ron Paul or Rand Paul or somebody else to be his vice president. That has not happened. Instead, he has pursued the strategy of 2008, picking a perceived fiscal conservative Paul Ryan. In 2008, it was Tea Party favorite Sarah Palin. That strategy will backfire this year, just as it backfired last year. Trying to pick a principled, popular, Tea Party-esque candidate for VP to balance out the fact that moderate, liberal, Republican Mitt Romney will be the one on the ballot. Again, that, I believe, will turn out the same way it did in 2008. But we'll see. So that was my first prediction that came true. Paul Ryan is now the VP. I didn't know it would be Paul Ryan, but I knew it wouldn't be Rand Paul or anybody else that we would actually like that would be the VP pick. My next predictions are based on the news that has been coming out at this issue, and a couple things. And you have to look at political predictions in the same way you look at weather predictions. You look at patterns. You look at the signs that are above, the formations of clouds, the actions that are taking place in the atmosphere, in this case the political atmosphere. Thus far, the political atmosphere of the Republican Party has been one that the establishment is doing everything they can to get rid of Ron Paul, sweep him under the rug, so to speak, but not to the point where they will disenfranchise Ron Paul's supporters. But they will make sure that the following things happen. Now, what are some of these signs? What are some of these patterns? Lawyers for Ron Paul. I heard months ago that they were filing a lawsuit trying to prevent the RNC from forcing Mitt Romney's unbound delegates to vote for Mitt Romney, regardless of who they want to vote for on a personal level. I never heard anything about the story after that was announced until a couple weeks ago. The story was that the case was thrown out by a judge. The judge said that the accusations that lawyers for Ron Paul brought were too vague and they were unfounded, and the case was thrown out. The appeal is whether the, I think it's called the Voting Rights Act, whether that applies to primaries or whether it applies only to federal elections. Having heard nothing from the result of that appeal, and with only 4 days left till the convention, I can safely say that that probably will not be successful. Okay. The Ron Paul campaign has stated on numerous occasions that Ron Paul does not have enough delegates to secure the nomination. The estimates by the mainstream media are about 200 delegates for Ron Paul. Taking into account unbound delegates and other things like that, the Ron Paul campaign, which I think would know better than us how many delegates they have lined up, are saying they have about 500 delegates. And even in a brokered convention, 500 delegates will not be enough to secure the nomination, nor will it be enough to secure even a slim minority, or a slim majority, giving the nomination to Ron Paul. I think it's safe to say that that won't happen based on that. In addition, Ron Paul has not been invited to speak at the convention, nor is it being said that he will even be on the ballot for the delegates to vote for him as the Republican nominee. The delegates in Maine, it is being said that they will not be seated. Therefore, every one of Ron Paul's delegates there will be disenfranchised. Recently, a compromise was reached on the delegates in Louisiana. Ron Paul will receive 17 of the 46 delegates that will be coming from Louisiana. 17 of 46, doesn't take a mathematician to tell you, is not a majority, as we thought was going to be the case for Louisiana. The Ron Paul campaign is saying it's a good compromise, but it is true that Ron Paul will not achieve a majority of delegates in Louisiana. They said that a compromise is possibly being discussed in Maine, and sources in the party are saying that it will be a pro-Romney compromise, if you will. So those are two states that we thought Ron Paul was going to have a majority of the delegates, and he won't. Ron Paul needs 5 states, a majority of delegates to even be considered for the nomination. If he has that majority in the 5 states, he will also be invited to have a speaking slot, neither of which have happened. The only concession I have seen so far on the mainstream GOP's part is that they will allow Rand Paul to speak at the convention. I think all of us know there's only one reason for that, because Rand Paul has endorsed Mitt Romney. Not his father, Mitt Romney. So my predictions. Based on this, based on the delegates that we have, based on the political atmosphere of the GOP, my predictions are as follows. As I've already stated, a liberty-loving candidate will not be the VP pick. It will be Paul Ryan at this point. Whether that will be challenged, I guess, is yet to be determined. I don't think it will go anywhere. And by the way, Rand Paul has also praised Paul Ryan as Mitt Romney's VP pick, saying he made a great choice. So, the VP will be an establishment Republican, probably Paul Ryan. First prediction. Already came true, basically. Second prediction. Ron Paul will not be nominated as the GOP nominee. As I've already explained. My other predictions are a little more loose and up in the air, but I do believe that they will occur. As far as the platform is concerned, most of Ron Paul's platform issues will not be heard and will not be on the platform. Foreign policy will not change. Most economic policy will not change. Drug policy definitely won't be changed. Civil rights will likely remain unchanged. I believe that there's a slim possibility that audit the Federal Reserve will become part of the platform. It's very slim, but it might happen. End the Fed will not be on the platform. Audit, maybe. Even if and when the platform is changed, it will not change the party because nobody will follow the platform. Historical precedent, part of the platform of the GOP was to end the Department of Education. George W. Bush, with support from many Republicans in Congress and the Senate, for example Rick Santorum, who voted for No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind not only did not eliminate the Department of Education, but it increased the size, power, and scope of the department. Therefore, you have one platform issue, and a major one at that, that has gone completely ignored by mainstream Republicans. So, to sum up my predictions, Paul Ryan or another establishment Republican will be the VP. The platform issues will not change at all, except perhaps audit the Fed will be on there, and afterwards the platform will be ignored. My last prediction, Ron Paul will not be afforded a speaking slot. However, in an effort to appease Ron Paul supporters, Rand Paul has been given a slot. He will act as head cheerleader for the Romney campaign. Might talk about one or two issues that matter to him, but for the most part, it will simply be a coronation for Mitt Romney. I believe that those who want to change the Republican Party have just as much chance of doing so as a libertarian has of being elected president. It's a very slim chance of happening. It might not happen this election cycle. Maybe it'll happen someday if we fight hard enough, but for many, many years it will not happen. Probably not, sadly, in Ron Paul's lifetime. So, those are my predictions. I don't believe that the Republican Party will ever change. I don't believe that they can change. I just don't think it's going to happen. But for those who do want to change the party from within, good luck to you. I think a better strategy will be changing politics from the outside. Getting third parties into the debate, into the discussion. Getting the name of third parties out there. And a strong third party in America, which Gary Johnson, whether he's elected or not, can accomplish for the Libertarian Party. Last poll he was included in had him about a 5%. If he gets that in the national election, politics as we know it will change, because libertarians will become a strong third party. I believe that's the best thing that we can possibly hope for in the United States. And again, I've said it 1,000 times. I don't know how many times I have to say it, because there's individuals that keep repeating themselves, and I'm not going to mention them by name, but they keep saying that a third party will never win, and therefore we have to change the Republican Party. I contest that the Republican Party will never change, and I disagree with the assertion that a third party will never win because the Republican Party started as a third party. And many parties have come and gone. We had Whigs, we had Federalists, and we had Democrats, and then the Republican Party was a new third party. I've already explained the history of that in my last video, so I won't repeat myself. But I believe there's a real possibility the Libertarians can become the next party bearing the torch of Ron Paul's message. We, the supporters of liberty, must be prepared to pass that torch and run with it to the finish line if we want to achieve anything. If you want to try to change the Republican Party, you go ahead and do that. But also be prepared to support the Libertarians, because we are your allies too. We want the same thing here. That being said, those are my predictions. Let the chips fall where they may. For everyone going to the convention, I wish you the best of luck. I hope that most of my predictions are wrong, but I don't think they will be. Thank you for listening. I know this was kind of long.